You ever watch a show like Stranger Things and think, okay, a secret government program doing mind control experiments? That's some seriously creative fiction. Well, what if I told you that sometimes the truth is way, way stranger than fiction? We're about to pull back the curtain on a real, declassified government program that makes Hollywood thrillers look almost tame.
And we're not talking about a B-movie plot here. This is a documented story of a war fought not on some foreign battlefield, but right inside the minds of its own unsuspecting citizens. And it's a story the US government tried very, very hard to make sure you never heard.
So that brings us to the big question. In 1977, a complete accident blew the lid off one of the CIA's darkest and most disturbing secrets. It revealed a program that was absolutely never, ever meant to see the light of day.
So how in the world did a secret that the CIA thought was dead and buried suddenly come back to life? You know, you'd think it would take a massive investigation, right? Well, the answer is way simpler and honestly a lot more random than that.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1973. The director of the CIA orders all files on this top secret project to be destroyed. Poof, gone. Secret safe forever. Or so he thought. But 4 years later, someone doing a totally unrelated search stumbles upon 7 boxes of financial documents that were just misfiled. And just like that, the secret was back.
And we're not talking about a couple of misplaced memos here. These boxes contained 8,000 pages of financial records, and suddenly, for the first time, there was cold, hard proof of a program that up until then was just a whisper, a rumor. All the official denials were suddenly blown apart by their own accounting department.
And here's the kicker, the part that sounds like it's straight out of a movie. For years, multiple U.S. Senate committees have been investigating these rumors and hitting one brick wall after another. But in the end, it was a single ordinary citizen filing a routine Freedom of Information Act request that cracked the whole thing wide open. Just incredible.
Okay, so the cat's out of the bag. The files are real. But what exactly was this program? What was Project MKUltra, this thing the CIA was so desperate to hide from everyone?
Well, according to the government's own declassified reports, the program's goal was, and I'm quoting here, the research and development of materials to control human behavior. Just let that sink in for a second. To get why they'd even want to do this, you have to remember the time. The Cold War was in full swing. There was this intense, bone-deep paranoia that the Soviets were developing mind control weapons. So the CIA's thinking was, we have to get there first, no matter what it takes. This was about weaponizing the human brain itself.
And when you look at what they were researching, I mean, it's just wild. They were into everything. Hypnosis, ESP, electroshock, and of course, giving people powerful drugs without them knowing. This wasn't some academic study. It was a kitchen sink approach to finding any possible way to manipulate a person's mind.
And this wasn't some small, rogue operation tucked away in a basement. Oh no, the scale was massive. We're talking 149 different subprojects. The CIA was secretly funneling cash to 86 different institutions, including 44 universities. And the craziest part? Most of these prestigious places had no clue where the money was really coming from.
And this is where the story takes a really dark turn. Because all this research, all these theories about mind control, well, to see if they worked, the CIA needed guinea pigs. So let's be crystal clear about who these test subjects were. They weren't foreign spies or prisoners of war. They were American citizens, unwitting American citizens. The agency was secretly drugging its own people, just to sit back and see what happened.
One of the most notorious methods they used was setting up what they called safe houses. It's an incredibly cynical name. They'd rent apartments in big cities like New York and San Francisco, hire prostitutes to bring guys back, and then they'd secretly dose these men with LSD while agents watched the whole thing from behind a one-way mirror. And these experiments were not victimless. Far from it. Take the tragic case of Dr. Frank Olson. He was an Army scientist who worked with the CIA. One day, at a work retreat, his own colleagues spike his drink with LSD. He had no idea. Over the next few days, he had a complete mental breakdown, and just 9 days after being drugged, he plunged to his death from his hotel window. And it gets worse. The documents show they didn't just pick people at random. They deliberately targeted the most vulnerable people in society, prisoners, patients in mental hospitals, drug addicts, people who were on the margins, people who wouldn't be missed, who had no one to stand up for them. It was pure exploitation.
So the big question is, how on earth did they get away with this? For over 20 years, how did a program this huge stay completely in the shadows?
Well, the answer is a very carefully built web of lies and deception.
You see, the whole thing was designed from the very beginning to be invisible. Get this, a 1963 internal CIA report basically laid out their policy. It said their practice was to maintain no records. The thinking was simple. If there's no paper trail, it never happened. No evidence, no crime.
And if you just look at the timeline, you can see this wasn't sloppy bookkeeping, it was a deliberate, calculated cover-up that went on for decades. Right from the start in '53, they broke all the normal rules to hide what they were doing. In '63, they claimed they stopped the worst of it. And then in '73, when it looked like Congress might start sniffing around, the director, Richard Helms, just ordered it all destroyed.
Okay, so how did they pay for all this without raising red flags? Well, they came up with this brilliant and totally illegal money laundering scheme. The CIA would give cash to a front company. That company then makes a private donation to a university. Then, because it looked like a private gift, other government grants would match the funds. So they basically doubled their money. The university had no idea the CIA was its secret benefactor, and the CIA got its research done under perfect cover.
All right, so the files are found. The explosive hearings happened in 1977. So what was the fallout? What is the lasting legacy of a secret that was never, ever supposed to get out?
Well, what happened next was this classic Washington showdown. On one side, you had the new CIA director in 1977 promising everyone, hey, I assure you, we don't do this stuff anymore. But on the other side, you had these frustrated senators who couldn't get a straight answer because the guy who ran the program suddenly had a very fuzzy memory. It just perfectly captures the total breakdown of trust.
But maybe the most tragic legacy of the entire cover-up comes down to a single, devastating number: 0. During the hearings, senators asked the CIA, okay, from these financial records you found, how many of the unwitting American victims can you identify so we can notify them, maybe offer some help? And the answer was 0. Not a single one. The cover-up was so complete that the victims were erased. That wasn't just bad record-keeping. It was a permanent destruction of any chance for accountability, and it shattered public trust for a generation.
And that's what leaves us with this really unsettling final question. The story of MKUltra isn't just some weird, dusty piece of history. It's a powerful warning about what happens when power goes unchecked. And it forces us to ask a really tough question. How can we, in a democracy, hold our government accountable for secrets we don't even know they're keeping?